Okay, hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Women in Media Hosts event. I'm Sophie Ivanov. I will be taking you through today. We have the privilege of speaking to Hollie Anderson. Hollie embodies the spirit of our group. She is an inspiring and accomplished woman who has made her mark in the media industry. Hollie is an assistant producer and has extensive experience on many TV shows. Currently, you're doing Traitors, is that right? I'm sure a lot of you are probably a fan. It's quite big at the minute. So, yeah, we're going to get started with the questions. So, the first question I have is, can you tell us about your journey into the media industry and what inspired you to first pursue this career?
So for me, I've always wanted a job where I could talk to people. I love to talk. I will talk to absolutely anybody. If you're in a lift, I'll break ice. I'll break that ice and chat to you in a lift. And I think for me, watching programmes, always loved watching TV programmes. Always been obsessed. And as the kind of years went on, I kind of realised that I didn't want to be a journalist. Didn't want to go down that kind of route. And then thought I did a media course when I went to uni. I went to Cali. I did a media and comms course there. And very quickly realised I was frustrated because it was a lot of like theory based, not enough practical stuff, and I really wanted to be more hands on. And that's what led me when I had just turned 20 and I turned up to STV where I met Laura over there, and I turned up for 2 weeks work experience and I didn't leave. I worked we had a local channel called STV Glasgow back in the day. It then became STV2. And there was a live show originally called the Riverside Show, which became Live at 5, which is essentially like the Scottish One show, which was a live show, which now, 10 years on in my career, a massive privilege to work day in, day out on a live TV show, because that's just not easy to work on, not easy to be around. And I started off as a runner, and I would meet and greet guests, I would chat to people, I would make sure in the right place at the right time. And that buzz of working in a programme like that, any sort of programme, you get this hit of like adrenaline and excitement, especially if it's something that's live or as live. For me, I just was like, this is home. This is my home. And from there, I was like, I just want to work in TV for the rest of my life. I just want to do this. And it's quite interesting learning about all of the different roles, all of the different people that go into making a programme. I think for me, it's like that payoff at the end of it. Mm-hmm. You know, once you've worked so hard to make something, but it did take me a while to kind of figure out my path, to figure out what part of TV, what role I wanted to work in, because I predominantly now work in casting, so that's kind of where I'm at just now. And now I can't even remember what the question was that you asked me. I've just
you actually covered the first and the second question, so you done well there. But so yeah, the question was how you got, like, you started your journey into the media industry, and then what inspired you. So you covered both of that.
Cool.
And then the second was, what was your first role in the industry, which answered, and how did it shape your career?
Well, I think for me, I was thrown in at the deep end. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely, and still to this day, that person that says yes and thinks about it later. Like, if I don't know something, I'll just say I'll do it. Mm-hmm. I think for me, starting as a runner, you need to throw yourself in at absolutely every opportunity that's given to you, and you just need to try and speak to as many different people as you can. Just show that you're like, it's really, really the simple things of being that person that turns up on time, being that person that'll say, yes, I can do that, being that person you're also good at what you're doing, you're learning on the job, just observe everybody. But the main thing as well, just be a nice person to be around. Like, be that person that they'll at the end of the day, they'll go for drinks and they'll be like, oh, just come as well, just come as well. Be that nice person, be that people that you want to be in your team. And I think for me, basically when I was a runner, I just took any job, especially when I could take things unpaid when I was a student. I would take absolutely any experience that was going, really, and then just making connections with people, talking to different people. And that's also other people that are at that same level as you. Like, there's loads of my friends that as we've come up, you know, we look out for each other. We, especially like this freelance life, if you have other people that you've came up with, then they're always helping you to look out for other jobs as well. Mm-hmm. So I think, like, for me, it's just throwing yourself in it, all different things.
Yeah. Could you share some insight into your role as an assistant producer, and what does a typical day look like for you?
Okay, so assistant producer is obviously a general kind of term. I would say I am now predominantly in casting. That's my absolute love. I absolutely adore working in casting, and I've worked in a variety of different programmes, and at the minute I am working on the Traitors, which is mental dealing with.
I can imagine.
Like some jobs you work on, you are grafting, you're begging people to come on a show because they're not too sure about what it is. I've worked in like programs that are smaller. I've worked with children. Something like the Traitors, obviously right now, I've just started at the start of the year working on it. Right now it's on. It's the biggest TV in the TV program right now. There are thousands upon thousands of applications, and you have to go through within your team. You have to go through all of these applications, watch people's videos, see who stands out. So currently, what I'm doing is we come in, we pre-screen, as we call it, through the application system, see who stands out, says, they love this phrase, an energy check. They're big on energy. They like an energy check. So we then speak to them on the phone, we get the vibe, we go, can we see you on TV? Can you deliver something that's different to other people that have been on the show before? You speak to them on the phone, and then the process from there is you do a Zoom audition. Some days you can be like back to back on the phone speaking to people. You can be back to back on Zoom doing auditions. You can also do a lot of targeting. At the minute, we're like really they want certain jobs. So like, you know, sometimes you can be asked, I really want a taxi driver. Can you go and try and find a taxi driver? Or I can't even else think. It's so random. At the minute, they don't want soldiers at the minute because we've already had quite a lot of soldiers in the show. So stop looking people like that. It's all sorts. Anyway. So then what happens from there is you're in this team, you're grafting, you're doing all your auditions, and then they get put forward to a pitch. And from there, the BBC, the execs, they look at all these people, and it's always a moving jigsaw. They're like, we like these people, but we want somebody that's more like this or more like that. And then you have to kind of regroup and keep thinking. So that's what my day job is like at the minute. And, you know, then another big programme I've worked on is Gladiators. That's a similar kind of process with the casting. You speak to people on the phone. We do physical tryouts, obviously, because it's a very physical programme. But my favourite part is once you've done all that casting, you then have to do all your diligence. You have to do your background checks on people. You have to do all their health and safety, all their insurance stuff. You have to do all this stuff. You have to make biogs on people. It's always like da. And then you get to the shoot, and that's where the real fun part of the programme comes into. And you're like, then my role kind of changes more from casting to welfare. Obviously, welfare is very, very important. So you're there to look after them, be their kind of sidekick, be a kind of Swiss Army knife of a person for them to, like, you know, adapt to what kind of person they need on their side. But you're there to make sure that they have. At the end of the day, I always tell us people, whenever you're working with contributors, remember that they're not like you. They're not making the TV programme. They're there they're helping you out as much as you're giving them an amazing experience, amazing opportunity. But always remember that the most important thing is they enjoy themselves. And you enjoy yourself too, because it is fun. We work in telly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What's been your favourite to work on out of the two, out of Gladiators and Traitors? What's been your favourite so far?
So for me, Gladiators is like, I worked in the first series, and that is like my heart. But I've only ever done the casting part of the Traitors. I've not been on the shoot. So that could change after this year.
Yeah. So this kind of ties in, but what have been some of the most exciting or challenging projects you've worked on just throughout your full career?
Well, I think for me, yeah, like I've worked in some really like different things as well. Like working with children is amazing. Not for everybody working with kids, but I worked on a live Saturday morning kids TV show that's on CBBC. I did that a couple of years ago, and that was really in the thick of, not the thick of COVID, but one of the bad COVID periods. And working with that was a challenging but really exciting time. And also like actually like being a kid working on a live Saturday morning TV show, like that was just like, I can't believe I used to watch, you know, stuff like this growing up, and now I'm doing something like this, which is just brilliant.
As a woman in the media industry, have you faced unique challenges, and if you have, how have you overcome them?
Absolutely. It is tough. It is tough. I think it is I would say in general, TV is a tough industry for absolutely everyone, but definitely as a woman, especially when you're young, you're not taken as seriously as men. Definitely, I have seen in the past that men do tend to climb quite quickly or get given more opportunities quite quickly, and you really have to be, especially in TV, you have to be your own biggest advocate. You have to be the person that makes sure you get the right opportunities, you get paid the right amount. That is there's always a bit of pay discrepancy with men and women. You have to be your own biggest advocate. But also in the same vein of this, I always like like to tell people, like, comparison is a thief of joy. So you always have to remember that you're running your own race. It's like your own marathon. Like, this is how your own path in the TV world is your own to create and your own. So definitely always be your biggest advocate, and yeah, don't let anybody tell you any different.
What advice would you give to women who are aspiring to enter the media field?
I would say it's like, you know, things are changing so quickly. It is a tough industry to get into, but me, especially when you're starting out in your career, you notice very quickly who the good runners are. That's your standard entry into TV, and your good people that come in are those people that it's all the basic stuff. Be that person that turns up in time, if not early. Be that person that, you know, again, advocate for yourself. When somebody asks you to do something, be the first person to go, I can do that, no bother. And just throw yourself in at every opportunity you can, because when you start off as a runner and then you move up to researcher, if that's what you want to do. Obviously, I work in the more editorial side of things, so technical is different as well. But just be that person that just is always putting yourself forward for things, and try and work in different programs. Don't stick to the one kind of niche. Obviously, it's really good experience once you get to like the higher levels. Is once you get to AP, once you get to producer, you start to kind of be a wee bit more niche and a wee bit more specialised. I would say when you're starting out, try all different kinds of genres, see what you like, learn about other people's roles. Like I mentioned, I work in editorial casting, but there's a whole other side, you know, the production side of things, your production secretaries, your production coordinator, your production manager. Understand what their job is, understand everybody's role, so that your role is as full as it can be, and that you're not just thinking about, I'm doing this for me, but I'll do this, and this is who else it affects. I think that's my biggest bit of advice, is just have that big understanding of everybody else's jobs.
How long have you been freelance for? Like, when did you decide to go freelance?
So it was actually during 2020. I was at STV. I started my career at STV when I was 20. And like I say, I was a runner. I was like a freelance runner, researcher. I was work experience for the first year. Then I started getting paid shifts. I started doing different jobs within STV. And I ended up in the newsroom and realised these aren't programmes that I want to make. I don't want to work in a newsroom.
Yeah.
Get me in a big studio, get me all the glitzy fun stuff. I want to do all that. And I left, and then basically I ended up not working for a wee while because it was COVID, but then I got into children's TV in 2020. So I have been freelance for about 5 years now, and it's a graft. You can sometimes be like, oh, I'm not going to have this job, I'm not going to have this job. You have to always be fighting your own corner, always thinking that one step ahead. But it kind of comes in waves of like really busy times, sometimes be a bit more quiet, but it's just always like keeping your connections with people, keeping your networking up, making sure different production companies have your CV, so that when they go, oh, I need a researcher, I need an AP in Glasgow, then they'll go, oh, this person got in touch recently, and always do that. And also never ever be afraid to pick up the phone. That is what the big thing is, you know, make sure that you're always like vocal about yourself, and they've got that connection with you. So I'd say that.
Thank you. What is one piece of advice you wish you'd received earlier in your career?
That is quite tough. I think for me it's going back to that comparison is a thief of joy thing. I know I've said that already, but I think for me is just don't compare yourself to others, because it is quite disheartening when you start out and you want to go up the ranks, you want more responsibility. Like I think for me is I wish that I had been more vocal about wanting more responsibility when I was younger, when I was starting out, because only by doing that can you move up. But it's just, don't compare yourself to somebody else that's maybe worked in the industry the same amount of time as you. Everybody gets different opportunities at different times, and it's also situational. Like you could work in a production where you really get on with the people around you, and they make you buoyant, they lift you up, and they give you that responsibility. But you might work on something else that you don't find it as easy to fit in, or you don't like the job as much. So it's always just really believe in, cheesy, but really believe in yourself and own your own skills, and always be ready to present them when people need you.
Who or what has been a major influence on your career?
Laura. Well, people going back to like, you know, when I started out and Laura was director of the program that I worked on, like she was somebody like at that point, what I'm saying is, you know, there's people like for me, somebody like Laura, there was great role models, people that were happy to tell me about how things work. She knew I was never going to be a tech op, but she made sure that I knew how the gallery run, what the things were. She would tell me how to use a headset properly. Do you know, things like that? Like, you know, the etiquette of talking over comms, things like that. Like there's lots of people that you can be really inspired by. One of my closest friends was my first production manager, again, who worked with Laura and I, and she's still my best friend to this day because she really rooted for me and helped me and gave me opportunities. And again, somebody that's a production manager, different to me being an AP, like different line of work and the programs we make. But definitely I genuinely, I know it's a bit soppy, but feel very inspired by a lot of other people that I work with and just seeing how all these different roles merge together to make a program. So I would say, yeah, other people that you work with can be really inspiring, especially when they really help you. I would say, like, if somebody gives you advice, somebody wants to give you advice. Also, we all work in TV. People have worked in it for years. People love talking about themselves, love talking about all the work that they've done. So you can start anybody off in a tangent about, oh, I worked in this, I worked in that. Like, oh my gosh, they love it.
Yeah, people do love talking about themselves. Are there any dream projects or goals that you're working towards in the future?
Oh my gosh, I would love to do I'm a Celeb.
Would you?
That is my big, that I'm manifesting. I'm manifesting I'm going to Australia this year.
Yeah.
I would love to do something big and exciting like that that's also not in the UK. So that's my goal. That's my goal that I'm working on.
What about Love Island? Does that ever interest you, or is that not really your
I think
sort of
maybe
programme?
5 years ago I would have.
When it was in the prime
When it was in
stage,
its prime. I think now I'm just like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm very, very lucky to work with 2 big, massive programmes at the minute. So I'm really lucky in that sense. But yeah, I'd love to do something like I'm a Celeb, get out to Australia. And
yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
What personal skills does a person need to work in this industry?
Okay, so I know this is easier said than done I am naturally a chatty person. I'm a naturally bubbly person. I will talk to anybody. I know for some people that's not always that's not your default in yourself, but it's really, you know, the one big thing is pick up the phone, right? If you're a researcher and somebody asks you to do something, don't just email that link. Don't just do that inbox online or whatever. Pick up the phone. People, I think we're just getting less and less, you know, being able to have those conversations, being able to do that. And I would say, like, just having that confidence to speak to people and just kind of fitting yourself in, just being a nice person, honestly, just being a nice person to be around and just like having a laugh. And especially when you're a runner, just like wee things, like just trying to think that one step ahead, trying to remember what the researchers were doing or the producers were doing, and remembering that for your own self and try to be that one step ahead. But it's really just like, it's honestly all the basics that are slipping that I've seen with runners and people just not being as vocal. And again, I know it's not everybody's personality, but just know that everybody started off there at some point and everybody was maybe a bit quieter. I was always loud and chatty, but I was never genuinely as confident as I am now at 30. So now I've got like hindsight and everything like that, but I've just like, you'll be proud of yourself at the start for being vocal, for being, you know, being that responsible, being a safe pair of hands. They love that phrase as well. If you're a safe pair of hands, if they know that you're reliable, they know that you're a good person to be around, like that serves you so far.
Thank you very much. Well, that is all the questions I have. We're going to open the floor up to you all. Anyone have any questions for Hollie?
It was a mixture of all kind of everything above that you kind of said there. At the time, really fortunately, at the time when I was at Cali with the channels, there was opportunities there. Like, we were very, very fortunate. Like, they had a student in every week, and I just emailed and said that I was a third year student and would be really keen to get involved and to get there. So there was that opportunity. I will say I was very lucky there was that opportunity there for us. And but now I would say, like, it's become less and less, I think, that people actually do reach out for work experience. I think people are more hesitant to do it now, whereas I think people like would really respect you if you said, I'm doing this, I've got these skills, I want to, especially if you're really specific about what you want, like about if you know exactly what kind of department it is or what program it is, you're specific about what you kind of want to do, and just try and set up a wee bit of a rapport with somebody, ask to go for a coffee, or your production managers, your line producers, production executives, or any sort of talent people at the BBC or at the STV. Like, they're definitely your people that you want to kind of plant seeds with and kind of ask if they do anything. Interesting. So I will preface this with, I didn't work on last series, so I don't have like the most immediate response, but that is something that, interestingly, in any program, like, that is when you work in casting and you graft and you graft to find the golden geese of people, like, because they always want something that doesn't exist. like for me, like, especially in like something like Gladiators, like this series that's coming out, I found a driving instructor, a CrossFit doing driving instructor, so I had my wee moment of glory finding somebody like that. But it's interesting what you say about that, like, because kind of gets to the point where we're literally talking about it in our meeting this morning about how we do put all this work in, and then somebody can be like 5 seconds they're banished straight away. Like Keith, like we were literally talking about Keith this morning. I don't know if sorry if nobody's watched it, but we're literally talking about somebody like Keith who's a window cleaner. Like, how amazing is that? Like, somebody that's playing the game. But it can be really tricky, like, because I especially do get quite emotionally like attached to people, and you care about them. So, but I think you always have to, especially as I've got older as well, as I've got more experience, I am able to take myself out of things a wee bit. And that's another thing, like, if you do want to work in casting, if you do want to work in welfare, always remember you have your boundaries, you have your line. Like, it's really important to genuinely care about people and to champion them and root for them. But always remember to be able to do that, take that step back and go, it's just a programme, it's just TV. We're not saving lives, and just always have that kind of like helicopter view. But I suppose it kind of just gives you more drive to find the next person, to find somebody that you think is going to be able to, I think, just always turn everything into a positive and use that as a drive to be like, I'm going to find somebody that's even better, that's going to last till the final. But it's tough, and it's very competitive even within the casting team. Everybody's like, I've got this person. So it's like literally the traitors behind the scenes. Never mind in front of it. I'm joking, it's not. But it's like very like competitive, trying to find the right kind of people. It's interesting.
I had never watched Traitors before until this season because my brother kept going on about it. I didn't realise how intense the show is.
It's really intense.
Like, they're in tears and like they're really emotionally invested in the show. Like, it's really intense, isn't it?
And their aftercare continues right after the programme as well. So there's a team that are in just now, it's 2 APs and a researcher that have, like, they've divided up how many of the people the cast that have been in the show, and they speak to them every week. Maybe not every day, but especially if it's like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, obviously when the show's on. So they're there speaking to them, making sure that they're okay with that. And some of them are like, oh, I don't like how it's portrayed, or I don't like, and you have to be like the one that really like wins them round, like makes them feel really good about their appearance. And a lot of them go, I've seen this said about me on Twitter, I've seen this about me said in the press. So you have to be, if this is the kind of stuff that anybody would want to work in, like, you have to be that kind of person that you know how to like talk people around, you know how to make people feel better. You have to like really validate their feelings, validate that, but also just have that sense of reminding them it's just a TV show, it's just a game, it's not your forever life. And yeah, but it's interesting. Obviously we've seen the whole Strictly stuff, everything like that. So welfare, aftercare, especially in these jobs, that's something that I think is only going to get more important, and only going to be more jobs in that kind of front. Another job that that they look for, especially at runner level, is chaperones, like for something like Love Island or whatever. A lot of people, if they go into programs and have a period of hiding, they need a chaperone, that's somebody that's literally with them for how many days, to like just be by their side, to make sure that they're not going on their phone, they're not looking at anything. So there's all these other little like nuggets of like jobs to start if casting welfare is something that you want to go into. It gets to the point, it's a bit of both. I would say that when I was a researcher and when I was like new in it, it was more tough. It was because you're not known by as many people. Your kind of dream scenario in life is that you find a big returner. I fortunately got Gladiators. That's a big returner for me. So you kind of go, right, okay, so that's a job that I've got in May, March till August. Great. Oh, the rest of my year, what am I going to do? There's a really good Facebook group called TV Talent Scotland, which I would recommend if you're not in it already. join, especially like when you're a student, there's nothing stopping you doing paid runner gigs now. And there's always people looking for different jobs in there. So it's basically a case of people, production managers, they might post. Some of these jobs could be for months, some of these jobs could be for weeks or days, and you could easily see something that you could film. So basically, for me, my biggest bit of advice when you are freelance is get to know as many different production companies in Glasgow, but also the big names down in London, down in Manchester, because they need regional hires. So regional hires on programmes are for people that are, the big London companies, the BBC or whatever. They give money, you get extra money to hire people, they get tax breaks, all sorts, to hire people outside of London. So it means that it's not all just English people working on a programme. Like we're a mix, Traitors is a mix, where there's a London office, a Manchester office and a Glasgow office. So don't even be disheartened by production companies that aren't in Glasgow. I would say my biggest advice is just like get in touch with as many of them as possible. Get in touch with like the kind of header. Like there's a company called Banerjee, which have like loads of little subsections of like other production companies within them. So it's getting in touch with the production managers, the line producers, the production executives, the talent. A lot of places now have talent managers just because of the nature of how many freelancers there are. So it's a mixture of for me personally, like honest truth, Facebook, having a look on there, seeing whatever jobs are up, and having your CV ready to go, have your skills in your CV, have your jobs, have everything that you've done, and also like being like don't wait, don't ever wait, because if you see it and you go, oh, I'll do that, oh that's good, I'll do that tomorrow, there's going to be about 50 other people or 100 other people that have applied for that job ahead of you. So always like strike while the iron's hot, get your CV in. And then try as you go, hopefully try and work on a programme that you know will return. And then what happens is, like I say, you're coming up in the industry, you meet other people, production managers, if they like you, if you've done a good job, people will want you back. And that's the kind of way it is. For me as well, I've got a friend that's a casting producer and I'm a casting AP, so it's quite good. Like if she goes on to something or I go into something, I know another person that could do this job if they need to do it. You'll find your own groove. You'll find your own groove with it. But again, it goes back to what I said earlier. Be your own best advocate. Just make sure that you're always kind of keeping an eye on everything. But yeah, that TV Talent Scotland Facebook group, I'd say definitely get on that. Get yourself on Talent Manager and Talent Bases, or I think it's called T-Bases now, and just get that generic, get your credits, or even like whatever you've done, just get that online and just look for jobs there, and any sort of runner jobs, production assistant jobs, getting that. But also start to think about now, I mean, with whatever experience you've had, start to think about maybe where you see your skills aligning and what route you maybe want to go down to, because people will always try and help you if you go. Like a runner that I worked, 2 runners in Gladiators last year, one definitely wanted to work in casting, one wanted to work in production. So we definitely like helped them do different roles that would suit them to then go to their next job and go, I've got this experience doing this, I've got this experience doing that. So it helps them progress into their other roles and skills. There is a hierarchy, yeah, absolutely. So there's lots of stakeholders when it comes to casting. It's always a moving jigsaw, like I say. Like you have your cast, and that can always move about. But there's a lot of hoops to jump through. So for us, for anything when we do it on the BBC, it goes in. You go internally first. So your exec producers, they'll see this. You pitch. I don't know how many people did we put in the last pitch, like 40 people. They'll have a look at all of them. They'll decide their yeses, their maybes. But even after that, you've got like another exec, you've got the BBC commissioner, you've got loads of people that look at all that. So when you're at this stage in the game, you're like, not my circus, not my monkeys. Well, it is your circus and your monkeys, but somebody else is the person going, oh, I like them. And that's a kind of what your question, that can be quite hard as well when you've worked really hard to find someone, and then somebody at the BBC goes, I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't see them on. So it's very subjective, and it can always depend on that person and who they see as good and who you see as good. So it's really interesting, because sometimes you put somebody forward and you think they're a shoo-in, and then somebody else doesn't like them. So it's always just like graft and try to find that next best person. I honestly think it's from now. I think I was just again, not that I'm not I'm a confident person and I was bubbly and I was outspoken. I just think that I didn't put myself, I think I didn't ask enough I didn't ask to do more or ask for more responsibility. I think that's definitely my one big bit of advice is like when you're doing it, and I've worked with some brilliant people that are researchers, and I see them and I'm like, I wish I'd been like that when I was a researcher, like asking for more responsibility. And I mean, that's definitely what I would say, and just be vocal about what you want, vocal about what you can do, and really put yourself out there and stand out a bit. Go, I can do that. That's no problem. Like, definitely.
Is that us? Yeah. Well, thank you very much again, Holly, for coming in to talk to us all. I'm sure we've all learned something. It was very insightful. I think it's good for us as well because some people are HNC, some are HND. So we'll soon be going off to uni or going out into the working world. So I think it's quite intimidating. It can be quite scary. And I think when you hear it firsthand from someone, it can help you feel a little bit more settled and remind you that it is possible. So thank you very much for your time. Can we all give Holly a round of applause,
thanks, guys. Thank you.